The video starts with the low hum of background noise, faint clattering and indistinct muttering. The narrator's voice, calm but with a tinge of exasperation, speaks directly to the audience. I'm documenting this because no one's going to believe me otherwise. My alien roommate, yes, that's a real thing, is currently, well, let's just say they've decided to explore human breeding. And no, before you ask, I didn't sign up for this. It's just happening. The sound sharpens. A crash echoes from another room, followed by the distinctly alien voice of Zikvan, a mixture of clicks and a lilting accent, punctuated by, "Prepare the extraction funnel!" The narrator sighs. That's my cue. The scene shifts audibly as the narrator walks into the main room. Zikvan is in the middle of arranging what sounds like a chaotic mix of equipment, a whirring device, a distinct ding from what might be a toaster, and something that occasionally emits a beep akin to a heart monitor. What exactly are you doing? The narrator's voice carries a forced patience. Zikvan perks up, gesturing enthusiastically with what seems to be a spatula. Ah, you're here just in time. I am preparing the apparatus for the first phase of my human breeding experiment. This will be groundbreaking. The silence that follows is deafening. You're what now? Breeding. You know, the foundational process for species propagation. Your species is uniquely gifted in this regard, so much potential in your reproductive rituals. Zikvan's tone is matter-of-fact, completely oblivious to the implications of their words. The narrator sputters, trying to keep it together. Okay. No. Stop. Back up. You're not trying to actually. Zikvan tilts their head, confused. Of course. This is purely scientific. I've even conducted thorough research. They pause, beaming. Romantic comedies. They are rich in human mating rituals. I've catalogued no fewer than 27 effective approaches. The narrator exhales sharply. Oh God. No. Those aren't real. That's fiction. You're basing your understanding of human relationships on movies? Indeed. They are an excellent source. Observe. There's a loud click, and the sound of a film projector begins playing. A grainy clip begins, a dramatic meet cute, in a coffee shop, complete with spilled drinks and overacted apologies. You've got to be kidding me. No kidding required. It is vital I replicate these scenarios for the experiment to succeed. Zikvan gestures to the array of equipment. I've even constructed tools to ensure optimal data collection. There's a pause as the narrator looks over the so-called tools. Is that a blender? Zikvan beams proudly. For mixing pheromone samples. The narrator groans, rubbing their temples. All right, look. You've clearly misunderstood everything. Human relationships aren't about pheromones and coffee spills. Zikvan interrupts, excitedly. Precisely. There's also the critical element of, what do you call it? Ah, the spark. That is why I've created this spark generator. A loud zap rings out, followed by a crackle of static. The narrator jumps back. That's a taser. A functional one, yes, Zikvan replies proudly. It will stimulate the necessary emotional response. I plan to implement it during Phase 2. The narrator throws up their hands. No. Absolutely not. Whatever this is, this Frankenstein disaster, you're not shocking me, and you're certainly not experimenting on humans. But you are human, Zikvan says, confused. And conveniently located. The data will be invaluable. Sick, the narrator says slowly. This isn't how any of this works. Human relationships are complicated. They're built on trust, emotion, not whatever this is. Zikvan looks genuinely puzzled. Emotion? You mean the unquantifiable fluctuations in behavior driven by hormonal irregularities? The narrator sighs again. Yes. And no. Look, just put the blender down and let me explain. For a moment, there's quiet as the equipment powers down. The narrator continues, softer now. Relationships aren't about tools or experiments. They're about connections. Shared experiences. Vulnerability. Zikvan tilts their head again, their expression unreadable. Fascinating. But how do I measure this vulnerability? You don't, the narrator says firmly. You just feel it. It's not about control or data. It's messy, unpredictable. Zygvan hums thoughtfully, tapping their chin. So, no blender? No blender. There's a long pause. Finally, Zygvan nods solemnly. Very well. I will recalibrate my approach. But I still require your assistance for the next phase. Why do I feel like I'm going to regret this? The narrator mutters under their breath. Zygvan, oblivious, begins fiddling with a new device. Prepare yourself. The bonding exercises begin shortly. The narrator's voice drops into dry commentary. This is my life now. Watch before it gets deleted because I'm pretty sure this violates every kind of ethical standard in existence. The video resumes, picking up where the narrator had reluctantly agreed to assist. Their voice carries a tone of resignation mixed with incredulity, as they address the audience. Against my better judgment, I've decided to stick around for this debacle. Zygvan assures me they've taken my advice into account, which is why I'm terrified. When an alien says they've adapted for human emotions, you should probably run. A faint sound of metal scraping echoes in the background, followed by Zygvan's cheerful voice. Excellent! The first bonding exercise is prepared. I require your participation. The narrator hesitates audibly. What kind of bonding exercise? The kind proven to establish emotional connections in 82% of your cinematic documentaries. Zygvan replies proudly. What documentaries? The ones involving romance. Zygvan clarifies, holding up a clipboard with meticulously handwritten notes. Step 1, the meet cute. Step 2, the mutual challenge. Step 3, climactic resolution. Oh no. Proceed to your designated position. Zygvan instructs, ignoring the narrator's protest. A clatter follows as the narrator reluctantly moves into place. The unmistakable sound of liquid splashing follows. Zyg, did you seriously throw coffee on me? Spillage is crucial for initiating step 1. Zygvan says matter-of-factly. Now we exchange apologies. Quickly, before the moment passes. The narrator groans. Fine. Sorry. Can we move on now? No, you must deliver it with sincerity. Zygvan insists. Repeat after me. Oh no, what a disaster. How can I possibly make this up to you? The narrator mutters through gritted teeth. Oh no, what a disaster. How can I possibly make this up to you? Perfect. Zygvan exclaims. Now, step 2, the mutual challenge. What exactly does that involve? It's obvious. Zygvan replies, dragging what sounds like a heavy object into the room. Competitive physical exertion to promote camaraderie. A loud thud echoes as something drops onto the floor. Is that a yoga ball? Yes. We shall engage in a traditional human activity known as plank wars. The narrator snorts. That's not a thing. It most certainly is. Zygvan argues. I observed it in a documentary called Extreme Fitness Couples, Volume 7. Pretty sure that wasn't a documentary, Zyg. Regardless, assume the position. A beat of silence follows as the narrator reluctantly complies. The faint sound of shuffling and strained breathing fills the audio. This is ridiculous. The narrator mutters. Nonsense. The tension is palpable. Zygvan replies enthusiastically. I feel the beginnings of connection. The narrator drops to the floor with an exaggerated groan. If by connection you mean back pain, then sure. Unfazed, Zygvan claps their hands. Excellent. We're ready for step 3. Wait, wasn't this the last step? No. Zygvan corrects. The climactic resolution is where the true bonding occurs. For this, I've prepared an activity steeped in human tradition. The sound of crinkling paper follows as Zygvan presents something. Is that a coupon booklet? Yes. For a shared meal at a local dining establishment. That's a gift card, not a coupon. Semantics, Zygvan says dismissively. The goal is to engage in a communal dining experience, thus fostering a sense of mutual investment. Zick, you could have just said you wanted to go to dinner. But then it would lack the scientific gravitas. Zick Van protests. Now let us proceed. I've already made a reservation. The narrator sighs deeply. Fine. But if this involves another blender, I'm out. The audio fades, leaving the narrator's voice as a dry commentary. On the plus side, this is probably the most effort anyone's put into asking me out in years. On the downside, I think my roommate is trying to turn me into a case study. Watch before this gets deleted, because there's no way I'm letting Zick record dinner. The video resumes with a noticeable pause before the narrator begins speaking, their voice laced with a mixture of exhaustion and bemused disbelief. I've reached a point where I'm no longer surprised by anything Zick Van does. That's not to say I'm okay with it, but when your alien roommate decides to take notes on human emotions while you're eating fries, you learn to pick your battles. There's a faint crunch, the sound of food being eaten, and then Zick Van's voice chimes in, as upbeat as ever. Observation complete. Your preference for fried carbohydrates suggests a need for comfort. I have documented this as a sign of vulnerability. The narrator sighs. It's just a snack, Zick. But is it? Zick Van counters, tapping a pen against their clipboard. Food sharing is a key ritual in human bonding, is it not? A signal of trust? Not when it's my fries, the narrator mutters. Unperturbed, Zick Van leans forward. Tell me, what other activities provoke emotional responses? I must analyze them all to determine the optimal breeding approach. The narrator groans. Zick, we talked about this. Breeding isn't about optimal approaches. It's about connection. You can't just study it like a science project. I disagree. Zick Van insists. Emotions are merely patterns of behavior influenced by stimuli. If I can replicate the stimuli, I can produce the desired outcome. And how's that working out for you? Progress has been slow, Zick Van admits, flipping through pages of incomprehensible alien script. But I am determined. Which is why I have prepared the next activity. The narrator's voice shifts to wary suspicion. What kind of activity? It's simple, Zick Van replies. We shall engage in poetic expression, a cornerstone of human intimacy. Oh no, the narrator mutters. Fear not. I have already composed an example. Observe. Zick Van clears their throat dramatically before reciting. Your ocular orbs gleam like bioluminescent spheres. Your epidermis radiates warmth akin to a Class G star. Shall we commence genetic propagation? The narrator lets out a loud groan. Zick, that's not poetry. That's... I don't even know what that is, but it's not romantic. Why not? Zick Van demands, genuinely baffled. It adheres to the structural patterns of human lyrical expression. Does it not evoke emotion? Yeah, the narrator replies dryly. The emotion is second-hand embarrassment. Zick Van looks contemplative for a moment before jotting something down. Fascinating. I must refine my approach. Tell me, what evokes positive emotions? The narrator hesitates, clearly caught off guard. I mean, it depends. People like different things. Some like grand gestures, some like small moments. It's not one size fits all. Grand gestures? Zick Van repeats, their eyes lighting up. I see. I must perform a significant act of generosity to demonstrate my commitment. Before the narrator can respond, Zick Van is already moving, muttering to themselves about acquiring an asteroid for their roommate. Wait, what? The narrator exclaims, scrambling to follow. You can't just... Zick, that's not what I meant. The sound of hurried footsteps fades, and the narrator's voice shifts into their commentary tone. This is why I try to avoid giving Zick ideas. 1 second, we're talking about feelings. The next, they're planning to rearrange the solar system. I swear, they've got the subtlety of a jackhammer. The sound transitions back to the room, where Zick Van is rummaging through a storage unit. I have reconsidered, Zick Van declares. Perhaps asteroid acquisition is too ambitious for step 1. Instead, I shall provide you with a token of appreciation. The narrator raises an eyebrow. A token? Zikvan nods solemnly. Indeed. It is customary in human culture to exchange symbols of affection, is it not? Behold! There's a pause before the sound of something heavy being placed on a table. Is that a rock? Not just any rock, Zikvan says proudly. It is a fragment of my homeworld, imbued with sentimental value and a trace of radioactive isotopes. It glows. The narrator stares, their voice flat. Zik, you just gave me a space rock that might kill me. Nonsense. Its radiation levels are within tolerable limits. This is a profound gesture of trust. The narrator rubs their temples. I appreciate the thought, Zik, but maybe next time, stick to flowers. Ah, flowers! Zikvan exclaims, immediately scribbling notes. A more universally accepted symbol of affection. I shall acquire some at once. No, the narrator blurts out. No more acquiring things. Just sit down and listen for a second, okay? There's a pause, and then Zikvan settles with an audible huff. Very well. I am listening. The narrator's tone softens. You're overcomplicating this. Connecting with someone isn't about big gestures or experiments. It's about being present, showing that you care in the little ways. Little ways? Zikvan echoes, intrigued. Yeah, the narrator replies. Like asking how their day went. Or remembering their favorite food. It's not about impressing them with grand gestures. It's about making them feel seen. Zikvan nods slowly, as if processing this. I see. Connection is not measurable, but observable. Subtle and continuous. Is that correct? Exactly, the narrator says, a hint of relief in their voice. Zikvan taps their chin thoughtfully. Fascinating. This will require a complete overhaul of my methodology. But I am determined to succeed. The narrator lets out a soft laugh. Good luck with that. The video fades with the narrator's voice, quieter now, addressing the audience directly. For the first time, I think Zik might actually be onto something. They've got a long way to go, but maybe this whole mess will turn out okay. Or maybe they'll accidentally blow up the apartment trying to connect. Either way, stay tuned. The video resumes with a soft hum in the background, the narrator's voice coming in with a mix of exasperation and resignation. I thought we were finally making progress. I really did. Zik was starting to grasp the whole connection over grand gestures thing. But then, because life is cruel, they decided to take it one step further. A sound of muffled footsteps follows, and then Zikvan's voice rings out, brimming with enthusiasm. Ah, excellent! You are here. I have prepared the ultimate demonstration of human emotional bonding. The narrator sighs. Why does that sound ominous? It is not ominous, Zikvan protests, their tone genuinely hurt. It is a heartfelt attempt to encapsulate everything I have learned about human intimacy. That's not reassuring, the narrator mutters under their breath. There's a faint whirring noise, and Zikvan claps their hands together. Behold! A beat of silence. Why is there a slideshow? The narrator finally asks, their tone laced with dread. This is no ordinary slideshow, Zikvan declares proudly. It is a visual chronicle of our most significant bonding moments. The narrator groans audibly. Zik, please tell me you didn't. The first image flashes on the screen, accompanied by triumphant music. It's a blurry shot of the narrator eating cereal. Oh my God! Observe the intensity of your focus, Zikvan narrates. A prime example of human determination during routine sustenance rituals. That's just breakfast, the narrator snaps. The next image appears, a candid shot of the narrator falling asleep on the couch, mid-yawn. Here we see vulnerability in its purest form. Zikvan continues, oblivious to the growing horror in the narrator's voice. A remarkable display of trust in a shared environment. Zik, delete this. Right now. But there's more, Zikvan insists. The slideshow crescendos with an emotionally resonant conclusion. The music swells dramatically as the final image appears, the narrator holding the radioactive space rock, their expression a mix of confusion and mild panic. Here, Zikvan says solemnly, is the pinnacle of our emotional connection. A moment of profound significance. Truly, we have achieved what you call bonding. The narrator buries their face in their hands. Zik, this is not what bonding looks like. This is just mildly creepy. Zikvan tilts their head, genuinely puzzled. You do not feel the connection? But the data indicates. Forget the data, the narrator interrupts. This isn't about pictures or presentations. It's about. God, I can't believe I'm saying this again, being present. There's a moment of silence as Zikvan processes this. So, the slideshow was a miscalculation? A massive one. The narrator replies. Noted, Zikvan says, scribbling furiously on their clipboard. Perhaps a new approach is necessary. No, the narrator blurts out. No more approaches. Just try being normal for a day. Can you do that? Normal? Zikvan repeats, their tone curious. Define normal. The narrator exhales sharply. I don't know. Like watch TV, hang out, maybe have an actual conversation that doesn't involve experiments or charts. Zikvan hums thoughtfully. Fascinating. Very well. I shall attempt this, normalcy. The faint sound of static suggests the video transitions to later in the day. The narrator's voice is calmer now, tinged with mild surprise. So, against all odds, Zik is actually trying to be normal. And by normal, I mean they've been sitting on the couch for an hour watching soap operas. I don't even know where they found soap operas. Zikvan's voice cuts in, dramatically reciting lines from the TV. Asterisk, how could you betray me, Roberto? I trusted you with my heart, asterisk. The narrator snickers despite themselves. Okay, I'll admit, this is kind of funny. Zikvan turns to them, eyes wide with sudden realization. This is what you meant by connection, isn't it? Shared experiences. Emotional highs and lows. Something like that. The narrator replies, still chuckling. Zikvan nods solemnly. I see now. It is not about experiments or gestures. It is about simply existing together. Exactly, the narrator says, a hint of pride in their voice. There's a brief pause before Zikvan speaks again, their tone cautious. Does this mean I should cancel the intergalactic live stream? The narrator freezes. The what? The live stream, Zikvan says brightly. I invited several 100,000 observers from across the galaxy to witness my experiment. It is scheduled to begin in approximately. Nope, the narrator interrupts, scrambling to their feet. Absolutely not. Shut it down. Right now. But it is already trending. Zikvan protests. You are being hailed as the alpha human breeder. The narrator groans. I am going to lose my mind. The audio fades briefly, then picks up again with the narrator's voice, weary but resigned. And that's how my day went. If you're watching this, it means Zikvan didn't manage to delete the footage before I did. Or maybe I gave up and let it happen. Either way, watch before this gets deleted because I'm pretty sure this violates at least 7 intergalactic privacy laws. The video ends with Zikvan's cheerful voice in the background. Next time, we explore human mating dances.